Avengers assemble, Tom.
You're excited,
Here they
aren't
all
you?
come.
Look how excited you are.
I'm excited, Tom, and I'm also like, I've got a real sort of anxiety about me because like it's very clear in this bonus episode that I'm the only man in the room that doesn't know what AdBlue is. And I've made no effort to learn either, but I'm like, God damn it, don't mention it, don't say nothing fucking stupid here. How are you all keeping, and welcome along again to another bonus episode of the Tom and Jerry Show. As work continues apace on season 6, we're keeping these bonus worst gig episodes ever coming along, Tom.
I don't think anybody does that. I don't think anybody strings people. Like you know, you talk about TV shows, radio shows and stuff, or podcasts that take a seasonal thing. I don't think they're polite enough to leave a nice little trail of breadcrumbs in between seasons of some juicy little nuggets of stories, like with well-known folk.
Yeah, when it's over, it's over. But that's not like when we've got guests the caliber of our man today. What the hell can we do, Tom? Who have we got today other than Marty Mone, friend of the podcasts?
Oh, a podcast. Yeah, well, honestly, we are tied through some sort of interdimensional fucking. It had to happen. It had to happen.
It had to happen.
It? Yeah,
it had, and he was very gracious and gave us his time to tell us about his worst gigs performing and also on 4 wheels as well, Tom. And I got
that was a bonus in a bonus episode, to be honest with you. This was yeah.
This was we're not gonna give any spoilers, but this was one worst gig ever where I myself, Tom, was sitting back thinking, "Fuck, I'd love to be at that."
I know. It actually, yeah. I was thinking the exact same fucking thing, but we did. Like, we reached out, and it was picked up very quickly. It was like, absolutely, do I want to come on the show with Tom and Jerry, given the fucking description of the song and all the rest of it, and being on Buckshot prior. He couldn't have been a nicer fella. Was it everything you hoped when you met your hero?
Well, do you know what it is, Tom? We'll let the podcast speak for itself, I think. I think we're just going to launch in here, ladies and gentlemen. But hang around until the end of the show because we've got a fucking rip of work we want you to do, all right? We've a lot of shit we need you to do. So hang around and get instructions after this. But until then, let's kick back and hit the diff with the man himself, Mr. Marty Mone.
So this is the union that had to happen. It had to happen. With the association that myself and Jerry McBride have had with Marty Mone. It just had to happen. We've talked about you ad nauseum. Honestly, we must be wrecking your head with people actually getting... I was only messaged the other day, Jerry, that a Anglican minister who has never listened to a podcast in his life, but loves Hit the Diff, was directed to it by one of our listeners and listened to the 2.5 hours and then followed up by Marty Mone being on my podcast immediately afterwards. And now he's an absolute addict. So
can you imagine, Tom? Can you imagine, Tom, that was the first podcast you ever listened to?
That's
downhill all the way from there.
As a 65-year-old Anglican minister. So there you go.
Now, what did ever measure up?
Brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, lads. I have to say that the first podcast you was talking about Hit the Diff, it was the first time, like 6 years of songs out, and people just don't get it. But the way he's talked about it, there was another meaning to it, and it was just absolutely class. It was the first time I went, yes, somebody is getting what I mean here.
Well, we had a great time with that one, Marty, and we're sure anytime you're out gigging when you play Hit the Diff, it's well received and the crowd goes wild. But we've a fair idea maybe there might be an odd gig here and there that wouldn't always go your way, would it? We know for us for certain it fucking hasn't done.
No, not for us anyway.
Hence this podcast.
Most definitely not, Hyde. And it's actually, I'd say 90% doesn't go well and only 10. There's always nearly more that doesn't. Like the stories out there on the road, as you probably know, lads. Like Jesus, it's mad. It's absolutely mad what happens out there.
So that being said, we want you to hurt us here, Marty, because there's almost too much loving going on between myself and McBride for Marty Mone. You need to think you're on too much of a pedestal right now. You need to come down a small bit.
Yeah.
Just make us feel human.
This is like when we take someone to our favourite restaurant and say, you're going to fucking love this. And then at the end of the day, that wasn't.
Well, there's a lot of gigs that I could talk about, and it's actually hard to remember. It's a good job you can't remember half of them, because if you did, you'd probably never go outside the door again.
You know. Condition, yeah.
But I was just thinking of a few there, and there's definitely a few I can think of, but there was one that we actually done in England, and the gig was took on as a sort of people was booking us for a gig, a price gig, and they were like, the place holds so many people and we'll sell so many tickets, and we're seeing photos of the venue, and we're like, that's grand, that's all seems good, normal enough, well, close enough to what normally happens. And so what happened was, at the back of it all, then the gig actually done pretty well in sales, right? So the gig was going well,
okay,
and which was brilliant. That all started good, and no, it was going well. So that was all good. So we says great. But next thing, coming closer to the gig, we noticed there was a lot extra tickets put on sale. We went right. So they're gonna push this now. They're gonna squeeze in a couple of sardine more here. Like, it's going to be like a pack. But sure, what about it? We'll see how it goes. So that was all right. So we landed at the gig, and everything was going well, and landed in, and we seen the room. I was like, right, nice wee room, not too bad. I said, it's going to be packed by the sounds of the amount of people that's coming to this.
But what capacity would you have thought should fit in their company?
Well, probably, I'd say maybe 500 or something like that. It was one of them kind of gigs,
Right.
And so that was all right. And next thing, no, your man says, yeah, this is where it's meant to be, he says, but now we're going to go out the back, he says, out beside this room. But little did I know they were building a new function room, okay? So, but the problem that happened here is the function room was only halfway through construction. So they took up this idea and this notion that they were going to have the gig in this new venue halfway through construction anyway. So next thing, we went into the other place. I mean, pallets of blocks, scaffolding. So there was pallets as a bar. There was stuff nailed everywhere just to get. So they decided to try to really make these extra few tickets and go with this other venue. Well, I'm not kidding you. It was I was going in setting up, and I says, what is going on here? So it was actually a building site. I know them builders' lights that sort of stand on three stands, stand up against the wall.
Yeah.
So they even use them as effects, so medical use that. So I'm not kidding you. And we went in to set up, and they started running the drink and the crack. And I'm not kidding you. It was one of the gigs. Now, at the back of every bad gig, sometimes the Canadian always work out better, no matter how bad they are. Sometimes you go past the point of not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. So what happens is you just
swiftly.
You just go straight out to the other side, and you go, well, you know what? This is bottom. This is the bottom of the barrel here anyway. Let's just go mad here. Like, set up, count me in and hold on tight. Like, see what happens. So the gig actually went when the people. There was a wee bit of like, what's going on here when the people come in, But then they went up to these pallets anyway, and all the paint and all the this, and got a bit of drink in, and then after that, no one gave a fuck. So the gig actually ended up just complete wild. It was actually a great gig. Probably atmosphere was unreal, but as a gig goes, of stress, of worrying about, you setting up on a stage made of old wooden blocks and all this kind of stuff, just, and then in the middle of it, in the middle of setup, right, to add to the crack, there was a lot of graffiti outside, a real kind of a wild kind of a spot. But she wasn't half my gear stole. The in-ears that they're like these thin techniques. But so that left, I had to do the gig with no monitors, so I couldn't hear in the ears what the rest of the band was at. So the gig was stole, so I lost a monitor and I lost hip stuff, which freaking cost a couple of grand. But lost the gear, and I'm not kidding you. When we got out of that gig, this is kind of a thing you're just leaving, going, how do we even get through that?
Yeah.
So that was definitely one that stood out of just a complete scenario of disaster,
Because like when you say it was in a function room that wasn't built, like, it was only half built, but like, and I assure you the half that started with wasn't the dance floor, so it wasn't. So we're talking people standing on bare concrete.
Yeah, it was actually bare concrete everywhere. Yes, exactly. And anything that was overly dangerous, just cloths hung over it and all this. But the scaffolding bars, as I said, the lights, they sort of used anything that was in the site as props, and people are sitting on things of blocks and every bloody thing. It was mad. Like, it was a building site. It was practically a building site. Like, the lighting like wasn't right. And,
like, so. I swear to God, this is sounding like an episode of fucking Challenge Annika.
Yeah.
Where we have to build a concert hall for a concert on. Well, we didn't quite make it.
Yeah, we didn't quite make it, but the show's going on.
And we throw. Who's got the tarp? Throw the fucking tarp over.
Throw the tarp over. We have to have an ending to this program. Fucking hell!
I love the notion that like your fans came in and went, "What's going on? Is Marty filming music? He probably thought they were all props. He probably thought it was a music video about being on the buildings.
It actually did look, now when you see it, I know the music films, they're really laboured rough and the light shining and the whole, that's what it looked like, yeah. So it was pretty mad, but
I'd say it was horrendous to play, but I was just watching Tom's face there throughout it, Marty, when you got oh yeah, everybody was drinking pints off pallets of blocks listening to Marty Mone gig. I could just see Tom's face going like, where's the worst gig here, lads?
Where's the worst gig?
Where's the problem?
See, not the positives here.
As I said, in every bad thing there's a good thing, and sometimes that is where the gigs really do come to life, when all boundaries are broke of trying to make the best, and when you realise, well, sure, this is a disaster, let's go with it. Sometimes the crack can roll, the crack can just be great, So,
well, that's
but the boys, you said it was sold out, Marty. Like, these would have been your people that came in for this gig, right?
Oh yeah, it was 100%, because the fans have in England, like, 100%, this was a Marty Mone concert, true and true,
Right.
Truckers, so this was so like we were, trying to put on an impression here, and Jesus, this is all gonna be good. And so a few of them, I met a few at gigs after it, like they were saying, Jesus, good night. Some spot, wasn't it? Some spot that say, So I was like, yeah, making out it was part of the show, like, it was me trying out something spontaneous, but no. So
I rolled that from town to town like you too.
Yeah, exactly.
A of blocks,
just tipper lorries with loads of sand and stuff.
I love that. Where have we put the fake cement? Where's the fake cement? Like,
yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like AC/DC bring a train on stage. Marty,
put
a load of scaffolding boards.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have dry ice, you just have an open bag of lime that you hit a few kicks.
Exactly, yeah. It's unbelievable. And there was another gig one time, I remember, when it started out, hit the diff, forced it off at the start. I wasn't prepared to what a song blowing up can do, And it was this man who rang me, and he says, I wanted to do a gig in a wee local community centre, it's about an hour's drive. And I said, no problem. And he says, how much? I said, €30. Right. And he didn't sound too impressed, And I was like, right, what's the story here? So that was all right. And so next thing, a day later, he rung back and he goes, what exactly are you going to do for this €30? He says, and I goes, I don't know what.
Was this into Cavan by any chance, Marty, that you were going? Was it
into where, Cavan? Oh yeah,
because they know where €30 goes.
I'm just putting down a compass in Monaghan and turning it around to see where the diameter is.
Yeah. Exactly. And at the time, like, I didn't really, and I was doing a lot of these times. So it was great to be getting out, and at the time I was trying to change from the driving. So any wee chance I got, I was at it. Whereas now with full time music, you haven't as much time to do that. But at the time, I was mad that we were on the road, and so next thing that was all right. So when I eventually did go to the gig anyway, they put me out the back in the store for 2 hours waiting on my own, locked in the store, while the rest of the show, because they were meant to have me as a surprise, the rest of the show went on, and they locked me. So just wait in there, and I didn't know where they went. They shut the door, and I heard the door locking, and locked in the room. And 2 hours later to come back, when it come to my part of the show, which they never told me when my part of the show was, for me to sing a few songs. And they had 2 hours in the storeroom, and then they let me out to the rest of the crowd. It was like, and so that was all right. And then the gig was over. They said they wouldn't have that kind of money in the venue. And a month later, a car landed at the house, and there was a check for exactly the €30, like, and that was it. So,
Christ of Almighty.
So it's one of these kind of things, like, So it's a bit, yeah.
I hope you framed that €30, like, because that, like, Jesus Christ.
You know what? Exactly. Up on the wall, pin it to the wall, just say, I worked for that there, But so it was one of them kind of things where, like that, you're going in through the door, and it's like, what's going to happen here? But you never know. You can be locked in a room. You could be, and no one tells you what their plan is for you. It's like, I want you to sing, and to just say, right, he's here now. We'll just put him here or put him there. You know what I mean? It's mad. Yeah. So there's a lot of kind of crazy gigs, and there's another gig way back. Like, you have to start like way back before the whole Hit the Diff and all this crack started and all. Like as I said, the wild days of you're starting out as a teenager in the bands, like wild crack. Like, but there was one night we were playing, and there's another lad I played with now. He's wild for the crack and the drink, So we were doing this gig, and there was a football team after winning, which, as you know, you go in to do an old quiet gig, and it depends if the team wins or doesn't win. But what happened? Didn't the team win? Well, we started off the crack. The pub started to fill up with the flags coming in, and we started to play it. Well, the place erupted. So at the time, I was driving like a digger in a lorry, and money, you hadn't that awful amount of money like to keep equipment built up, Yeah. So the next thing, the crack started, And bit by bit, as I was playing, we were squeezed up against the corner, and the crack and drink started to spill. And bit by bit, the drum kit started to go past me bit by bit, you know. So I used to play drums. So next thing, the drum kit started to be carried out of the around the frigging pub bit by bit. So every time I turned around, there was less and less of the drum kit there, you know. And there was a fella sitting, the other fella was drumming, and there was a woman sitting on his knee with another stick, and the crack about. And next thing, the whole thing erupted, and we kept going to the end of the gig. And what happened then at the very, very end? By the time the gig was over, pretty much most of the equipment was laying around the pub everywhere, like, you know. So the gig was finished anyway. Another lad went in the drink, but when he went to do the gig the next day, it was complete torture because trying to get extra equipment from the house or going to a music shop to get it, you know, go in the lorry and then try to get home to get extra music equipment that gets filled back up to go. So next thing, what happened? Didn't the other lad ring and say, I went to a house party last night? I says, and right, how's things grand? He says, but the only thing is I've lost the guitar. I says, what do you mean you've lost the guitar? He says, where's the guitar? He says, to tell you the truth, I cannot remember for the life of me. He says, all I can tell you is what town it was. He says, it was the other town. It wasn't the town we were playing. He says, it was the town beside that. He says, I don't know. And at the time he didn't drive, I had to do the driving. So I had to go to that town, and I actually had to go from door to door to see was there a house party there last night, and is there any chance have you got a guitar, you know? Well, I'm not kidding you. Like, it was just, you know, anything when you're trying to run the gig, and just it was just mental. So sometimes when you think back, you actually wonder how you did it, you know.
And and this could be a stupid question, Marty. Did you get the guitar?
We got the guitar, yeah. So eventually,
we just rock up to a house and say, "Sorry to bother you. Can you do a quick guitar?"
I had an idea, sort of, but most people was like, "No, we weren't even out last night." Oh, sorry for bothering you. On to the next night, and you had an idea for a couple of people and new people. You know, you sort of knew where the party heads were, you know. And so it took about 5 or 6 houses around the town, just going and asking to find out who and where and what's. And eventually I went to a door, and this girl, I goes, was there a party here last night by any chance? And this lad singing, oh, there was. And I goes, is there a guitar? Actually, there could be. And she wasn't sure. She was actually isn't. I had explained the guitar, like, and
what?
You know,
explain guitar to me. What does it look like now? You know, just,
yes, exactly.
Out of mind, yeah.
I
love that there's a row of houses, and every one of those houses has a story of the day Marty Mone came to their door looking for a guitar.
Yeah. and at the time, like, that was before Hit the Div. So at the time, they were just like, "Oh, this torture," like, you know.
Yeah, you'd love it to turn around and went, like, you know, acoustic or bass. Like, what kind of guitar are you talking?
Yeah, exactly.
A fucking guitar or not?
Yeah.
Show me the guitars you do have.
Yeah.
Also, that storeroom, when you told that story, when you might have locked you in the storeroom, for some reason, something in my head thought, thank God that's all it was, that it wasn't actually a door into a trailer, and all of a sudden you hear it lock, and a truck fire up and drives away with it. And Marty Mone was never heard of again. That's the...
Well, that's the kind of stuff that goes through your head, you know, when somebody, and they don't really explain to you how long this show is or how long you're going to be waiting. They just say, oh, you just wait there a minute, and bang the door, and the door's locked, and you don't know whether to knock or roar or whether you're saying because I actually did think they forgot about me, and I was waiting for the tick at the door, and the whole place going quiet, and the front door shutting, and me in there going, hello. So it's one of these kind of situations where it's you know, it's mad. It's absolutely mad, you know. So like there's plenty of other gigs where, you know, just bad crowds, and you know that cold sweat you get and you're going. There's another time where I was doing a gig, and there was these you know, mixed crowd in front of me. There was a lot of older ones and the table in front of me, and then there was a lot of younger ones. So at the time, there was a lot of things over the country music, and I would do a lot of rockier music too. You know, that's where sort of starting the rock bands. And I was like, you know, when I go into a venue, I'd like to play whatever, if I can, what sort of suits. The older ones in front of us I was playing a lot of jives, and I said, geez, I need to try to keep the older ones happy here, but they wouldn't move. And so that was all right. I was like, geez, and the young ones were out Jonathan and jive, but the old ones wouldn't move. And I was like, what? So this is what happens in your head is, you know, you try to sort of read the crowd, and you think you know what they're doing. You think you're a professional. I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what they want. I can tell you what they want. A wee bit of gambler here. We're laughing. We're home. We're home and dry.
Yeah.
Not working. No, bum bap. No, not working. So that was all right. Coming in then like that, past the point in Overton, you're like, the hell with this. And next thing we went into a wee bit of rock and roll with Led Zeppelin. You know that? It's been a long time since the rock and roll. And just went mad into this song. Well, next thing, didn't the old ones get off the table and start booging around the floor? But see, you forget sometimes that their age group, just because they're a bit older than me at the time, their age group was into the Led Zeppelins and the AC/DCs and all the crap.
Yeah.
And like there was a cold sweat the whole night because you were under pressure and you couldn't get this to work because you thought you knew what they wanted, but instead of trying a wee bit of stuff earlier in the night, you would have, So I always remember that gig going, never, ever, ever judge a book by its cover, you know what I mean? Just, so it's one of them kind of a shock factors.
But I mean, there is, of course, those moments where you absolutely do have to judge a book by a cover and know full well that this is going to be pure shite regardless. Like, there's those moments where you're going, I think
on occasion it works, yeah.
I think we can all agree that none of us want to be here, lads, but you're looking, we'll get through it together.
Well, I think that's the one rule of a gig, isn't it? I think when you said you're going to be there, no matter what happens, I hear the interview there lately of some fella and he said, well, the way we looked at it was, if there's no one there, well, we're having practice tonight, that's it. You're playing and that's it, the hell with it, or whether the crowd's not reacting. If they're not reacting and your set's a certain way, that's it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, you have to just go with it,
The old one-liner when you're doing your comedy, if nobody's laughing, is just to go, well, thanks for giving me a quiet room to practice,
Yeah, right, very good, right, yeah, I like it.
So come here, Marty, those are some fucking horror story gigs, and like, I wouldn't trade your trouble, so I wouldn't. But now, music's only half the story. I wonder now. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but have you a worst gig ever on the wheels anywhere to tell us about?
The wheels, as in smashing, crashing, and all the crap. Yeah.
on the road or on the farm. What was your worst day?
I had.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I could. Yeah, they could probably outdo the bad gigs as the way the thing goes. But there was a few mishaps there. All right. One day I decided it was drawn in round bales and it was on 145 horsepower horses. Now, to a lot of people, that's like horses. They're like a Zetter, an old time Zetter. And a lot of people say, but to me now, if I hear that, you'll come up the road. That's to me old school, ripping and tearing. But so I took this notion, not understanding the science of gravity and speed at the time, I was very young. So down this field, so the round bale was coming up the field, and the fella in the round bale, I let the round bale out, right? So the bale took off down the field. So I went like that, being young again. The hell with this? Like, I'll stop that bale, no problem whatsoever. So I took off down the hill on the 145 horsepower horses, flat out down the hill, and swung around in front of the bale, which is three things happening there. You've got the speed of the torn, you've got the hill going against gravity, and you've the speed of the bale also going down the hill, hitting at the one time. Well, the whole lot upside down. Sunroof broke off, diesel tank, bonnet. Stop. But the only thing about them was, all there was a dent in the corner of the cab. We took off the baler, pulled the tractor back from its wheels, messed about with the diesel and the injectors, trying to get the diesel, the oil and all was up around the top of the engine. Just through the sunroof and the hedge, and away we went again. That was it, back on the road. But so it was that. I always remember that one, being young, thinking, what's the worst can happen here.
Jesus Christ! You're lucky it was made of stern stuff that round bale didn't actually just basically round bale the entire lot of you. Like, Christ.
Well, that's it. Whereas if that was a new tractor with them made of glass and plastic, like, all was complete. It probably, the doors were that big, the bale probably would have been beside me, But yeah, so there's a lot of smashes like that now. I had a lot of mishaps on the road years ago, and that's the one thing now, to stand still when you're older. You're like, no, ease off in the corners.
Yeah. And never try and stop a round bale with an Ursus of 145.
With anything, for that matter.
Listen, I suppose this is as good a time as any to say one day I was about 10 and there was a boy tipping round bales and I was only on foot and he tipped the round bale out and I went rolling down the hill and he goes, go after that, taking the light of me. And I went after it at 10 years of age. And everybody on the farm was just running after me going, fucking stop! But I had every intention to get in front of this bale. No way I was going to race this bale down the hill, but I had every intention of getting in front of this bale and just putting the hands up like, whoa.
Yes, and that's and getting in front of it's where the danger started. That's the problem.
Yeah. Once I got to the speed to even approach the bale, I goes, nah, this isn't it, McBride. This is not it. And I look up the hill and like everybody's running down and me going, what the fuck are you doing? So you're there saying that you attempted it in a tractor. you attempted it in a tractor, Marty. You were the lucky one.
Yeah, exactly. You were trying to stop the bale and they were trying to stop you. Exactly.
There'd be no fixing your injectors after that one, McBride.
I would have went fucking round and round with the bale like fucking the coyote and just like...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, not good. No, definitely not.
That was an absolute treat, Marty. Yeah, you brought us down to earth, small. You come down to earth to meet us regular humans. So even though you're absolutely rock star in it at the minute, but you do you have a new song, new video, the whole lot. I saw you've been shooting a 4-day shoot and everything for a new video. Tell us more.
Yes, new video shoot, 6 days on the road. Yeah, should be out today, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We come out in the morning, so later on in the day, you'll be able to catch that on. Am I right in hearing you and saying it'll come out on YouTube first and later on
Yes, we're doing it a bit different. Yeah, it'll be on YouTube around 4:30 in the evening. That'll be around 4:30 in the evening. Yeah, 4:15. Be on YouTube and then hitting at midnight. Then hitting midnight on all platforms. So it's actually there's no classic song. 6 days on the road. And another wild story to that is it's not the worst gig ever. It was actually pretty cool at the end of it all. But just actually, we're behind here. This is the studio right behind me here where I'm sitting. And up here is the sitting room. It's the living room. It's a sitting room. I call it living room, right? And so we're practicing the time. I had no place outside, and we're practicing. And I called the band in. But before we started, I just wired all the mics up the hall here and down into the studio. Plugged them all into inputs. And I said, to hell with this. Hit record before this, and to hell with it. And the band come in. So when we were buying the kettle, we says we're going to do my own songs. We're practicing a lot of my own songs at the time for shows. And I says, right, we'll warm up here and have a bit of crack and just say this. We'll beat out an old version 6 days in the road here. Put on the kettle and we just beat into it. And it was one of them kind of magic recordings, people smoking and and the crack and the tea and all the biscuits laying around the place and the place full of smoke and the kettle boiling out in the kitchen just beside it. And that was all right. So when the band left, a couple of days later, I was editing through all the crack and the jokes and the live stuff. But there's this one song, 6 days in the road, where it's just like, over to the piano, and the piano was just going, over the guitar, and I was just like, I like this. I said, that magic, the old Beatles recordings, that used to count me in, let's go for this. And that old years ago was on tape. I'm doing digital naturally, but years ago was on tape. You hadn't really much room to edit or change stuff. So, but I had it multi-tracked it all just live exactly. So, but exactly as it was, I was like, that is unbelievable. So that's why I decided to put it out. So I actually went on the road in the old truck for 6 days all last week there. And so I actually lived, I don't do as much trucking as I used to. So I went there for 6 days on the road to shoot the video. So each day it was just flat out day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I had a low loader of moving machines and pallets of marble. That's some
Daniel Day-Lewis level commitment to the actual cause. Yeah. Like the song's called 6 days on the road. I went 6 days on the road.
Exactly. I started the truck and I go, as well, if we're going to sing about it, we're going to do it. That's how it's going to be.
Well, there's a commitment to Marty Mone.
So like years ago, it was 24 hours around the clock on the road, but I didn't do that in a while, normally with not many gigs or anything like that. So I says, what, I need to blow the cobwebs of the lorry, I need to blow the cobwebs of myself, let's get out here and get a few loads booked in and sort of shoot the video for the song. So it was all complete just by chance kind of thing. So that's how it all worked out, yeah. So that was the story on it.
Brilliant stuff.
Deadly stuff. Well, I look forward to hearing that later today. And of course, guys, if you're listening to this tomorrow, Friday, it's already up, okay? Don't be hanging around till 12 o'clock in the day. Get yourself to YouTube and listen to it right now.
Exactly. Fair play to you, yeah.
Marty.
Yeah.
Thanks a million.
Listen, thanks very much, lads. Thank you, Jerry and Tom. Fair play to you. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the fans. Really, really appreciate it too for all the support during the lockdown. So thank yous and thanks, lads. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh my Jesus.
How
much did you enjoy? I could watch you live the whole way through, just like Santi was talking to you.
And I'm telling you what it is, Tom. Like, I just have to ask one question. Is that what I sound like?
Yeah, pretty much.
There you go.
No, you're definitely from two different parts of the county, but yeah, you're very, you've sharpened your R's since moving south, since coming down into the fucking below the Mexican border, below the Mason-Dixon line. You've sharpened your R's a small bit. They're still a bit softer. I don't know if you noticed it, but for the avid sharp-eared person there, you would have heard Jerry's accent getting really thick, Monaghan. Which I, for one, was happy about. To be fair, I was very happy.
I used to work in a place. And look at that, Tom. I used to work in a place, and anytime any of the lads would come in from Monaghan, if I knew them, you'd be chatting away with them. And one of the lads that I worked with, this is up in Dublin, I should say. I'm telling this story hours back, but it was up in Dublin. One of the dubs came over to me and goes, do you know you always fucking ham up your culture accent anytime there's anyone from Monaghan coming in? I goes, no, pal. It's just every other fucking day I slow it down for you.
Well, there you have it. You heard it, folks. We may actually have to re-release an episode where we actually take it back a notch. Or if you're listening on Spotify, of course, you can go back to half speed just to slow it down, just to see, you know, if it makes better sense. Or you just want to savor it even more. But that, of course, is Marty Mone. It had to happen.
Marty Mone, and like I said at the start of the show, Tom, we've a ball of things that we want people to do, and not least is stream Marty's new song. We're going to put a link in the description, as the kids say. We're going to send everything to you. If you're one of these crack of dawn Tom and Jerry show listeners, it'll be out later in the day, or you know, more than likely if you're just listening to us over the weekend, it'll already have hit the airwaves by then.
Exactly.
And we're going to put up everybody's socials here. You know, we're like telling you to follow the fucking Tom and Jerry show. You know to do that. But we're going to throw up Marty's socials as well there. Give him an old follow, and keep an eye out if he's in your town for, as he described himself, if that's his worst gig ever. It's like a fucking rockin' party.
It's a savage gig. I would have loved to be.
I'm sorry. I've got to tell you, Tom, I don't even know that fucking thing qualifies for worst gig ever. I was there, let me at it.
I know, but you were thinking that as an audience member, not as the poor bastard has to get up on the fucking microphone.
Well, this is it too. Other than that, Tom, we've got more worst gigs ever coming out next week. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know who it's going to be. And work on season 6 continues furiously.
Literally, we are. McBride and myself are actually having a fucking meeting, people. We're about to have a meeting as soon as we press stop on the recording here. So rest assured and keep your little ears peaked, because season 6 will be coming your way not too far away. But we will be linking it all. There'll be no withering on the vine for you. You'll get plenty of bonus episodes. So I suppose between now and then, keep sharing, keep telling everybody about it. And if you can give us the 5 stars, that would be absolutely fantastic. You know, leave us a nice little comment just to help other people find the show. Jory.
Yeah, Tom, I gotta go look up on Google what AdBlue is. I've lived in ignorance for too long. And we'll see you back here next week, and I'll tell you all what it is.
Good luck.
Good luck.